Good evening, everyone, and welcome to day 443 on our continuing updates of Ukraine. May the 12th, 9:02 p.m. Eastern Standard, 6:02 in California, 4:02 a.m. in Ukraine. And tonight, got some good news. Finally, we've got some good news coming in from Ukraine. We've got some not so good news, but overall, tonight, good news from Ukraine. President Zelenskyy giving out some good information today as well. We've got some confirmations on some activity that Ukraine is doing, being more aggressive. We'll get to all of that in just a moment, but I wanted to thank you for being here. Thank you for continuing to support, like, subscribe, comment, Patreon, all of that stuff's in the description. Additionally, I wanted to say a big thank you because many comments came in after the stream on Wednesday night when we did an analysis of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and his madness, and everybody was supportive. So thank you for that. Deeply appreciated. Get enough hate mail. It's nice to get kind comments every once in a while. So with that said, my friends, let's jump into it. And tonight we're going to start with good news, and we're going to start with Bakhmut. We're going to start directly from Zelenskyy. This is why we're ready to report this now. Ukraine has taken back 17.3 square kilometers of ground around Bakhmut. Now, this would be on the southern side predominantly, but we're very thankful for that. Ukraine, according to the blue arrows, is pushing on the north, pushing on the south. And to be quite honest, let me make this a little bit bigger for everybody. So the north is actually not on Bakhmut. It would be one village above, but it pushes into the Russian positions on the north. The positions on the south, that is actually around the hook, but it still will affect the battle in Bakhmut. And then the other area where we have been liberating some ground that directly affects Bakhmut, if you look on the map there, it's right below Ivanivsky. You can see the yellow arrows there that I've added in showing the reclaimed ground for Ukraine. So this comes directly from President Zelenskyy. I have drawn the black circle around the entire city of Bakhmut, also the red line representing the front line. So in Bakhmut proper and itself, Ukraine is just starting to try to do some movement there. But on the north, we have a push. We're not ready to color it, but on the south, we have color. Now, you may wonder, okay, the next largest town, Ivanivsky, is just a little village on the supply route that comes into Bakhmut for Ukraine. The next large city over would be Chasiv Yar, which is still relatively small, and then Konstantinivka, which we operate in many times, as well as Chasiv Yar and Bakhmut. But Konstantinivka, 22 kilometers from the front line. So that's the distance. Many times when we're showing maps, we need to add in the distances. So it's 22 kilometers from Konstantinivka to the front line there in Bakhmut. Why are we sharing this? Because this evening, President Zelenskyy himself is the one who declared what is happening there in Bakhmut. Now, additionally, today, actually yesterday on the 11th, there's Prigozhin, the madman. He sent a letter to Shoigu, the general commander there out of the Kremlin, the defense minister. He sent a letter, very kind and polite. Now, I know this is written in the Russian language, but of course, yes, we have it translated for you, so you'll be able to read Prigozhin's letter. I want to just make a statement here. When you're watching the soap opera, which is the Kremlin, which is Putin, Lavrov, the propagandists such as Solovyov and Semyon Martina, when you're looking at the generals like Shoigu and even the leader of the Wagner private group, Prigozhin, folks, do not believe anything. You may say, well, I saw the screaming rants. I read about them. Even you showed it, PG. Yes, I did show it. But with an addendum to that, please understand, this is how they operate. They operate in chaos and madness. So now, just a few days after the madness, we have Prigozhin trying to look all tough there. I think many people refer to him as Gollum for a nickname. Sent a letter yesterday to Shoigu. So, what does the letter say? Let's read it in English. It says, to the Minister of Defense of the Russian Federation, Army General Shoigu, and then the date, May 11, 2023, Honorable Sergei Kuzhekovich, tough middle name there, which would actually be Shoigu's father's first name. They bring that into the middle name and add the Vich on the end. He writes, Honorable Sergei, currently the units of Wagner PMC control over 95% of Bakhmut. That is accurate. They do. Settlement and continue to attack for its full liberation. They do. Zelenskyy giving that information today about Bakhmut and saying Ukraine was taking some ground. But in the city itself, Wagner still holding on to that, the Russian forces there, and it's very intense battles going on in the city limits, in that black circle I had drawn on that map. He goes on the right. On the flanks of Wagner PMC, where the units of the armed forces of Russia Federation are located, the enemy conducted a series of successful counterattacks. Confirming what Zelenskyy said, taking into consideration the complicated operational situation and also your multi-year combat experience, I ask you to arrive in the territory of Bakhmut settlement and evaluate the situation yourself. Thank you in advance. I count on your agreement, head of Wagner PMC, Prigozhin. So there actually is the translated. This is what we try to do for you here, is to translate stuff that you'd never be able to read unless you can read or write or speak Russian, Ukrainian language. So here's actually the physical letter. This is the translation of it. And just a completely different story than the madman ranting. I want to jump down to Kherson tonight. Kherson, not on the good news front, hit very hard over the last 24 hours. And I want to share this because this is all civilian targets: school, hospital, a historic gymnasium facility, and a shipping center. Now, you see this building right here. This is adjacent to the shipping area where Zhenya and I ship things to in Kherson. So when we go out and we make deliveries and runs, we go and pick up other stuff that you guys have bought. Our church is supporting, supplying. You guys all over the world send money. We buy these things. We ship it there. Drop shipments. We go unload, give on the front lines. We come back to Kherson, come back to Mykolaiv, come back over to other places in the east, reload the truck, trailer, whatever it is, van, and we go back and deliver more. This picture here showing the fire department working, putting out fire, is adjacent right to the area where we pick up and deliver goods. So this one, once again, hitting home. We spend a lot of time in Kherson, folks. It's really a base of operations for us down south. So once again, civilian targets. That's what's happening there. I want to jump over to Marinka, Ukraine. This is where we have talked about a lot. I'll go here now and show you this just in case you're new here tonight and maybe you do not know where these places are. Of course, Kherson down south. I'm pulling right out from the map, down south. You come up the river. Of course, you go past Nikopol. You go past Zaporizhia. You come over here. Major battle here at Ugledar. Major battle of Avdiivka. And then, of course, the famous one right now in Bakhmut. But if you come down by Avdiivka, you have the town of Marinka. Marinka is right here. And this city pushing on the outside of Donetsk is completely gone. It's right here below Avdiivka. So this is the push that continues, but there's nothing left. So today, drone footage. I try to give you guys this as much as I can, and I receive them and they're confirmed. This is drone footage from Marinka, Ukraine today. And I remind you, we've been watching this town for a while. It's the narrow city there. Pre-war population about 9,000. Now, zero. I mean, maybe 20, 30. It's zero. Basically, there's nothing left. This is main central street there in what would have been Marinka, Ukraine. And once again, just some fresh footage coming out of Marinka. This is drone footage today, Marinka. So you can see here a couple of things I draw your attention to while you're watching the drone footage. It's today's footage. You see the green growing up in the spring. Secondly, you see on all the shelling spots, look in the field right there. You see where the shells and the artillery have rained down. There's no green grass growing in them. Very fertile area. Green grass would start growing back in these shells. All of this is just now active. It's now been burnt to the ground. Most likely, as you can see there, incendiary munitions, phosphorus munitions used. And this city is completely gone. So, when we talk about the good news of winning the war, which Ukraine is going to win the war, you will not rebuild Marinka. You will build a new city. There's nothing left there to rebuild. It is completely destroyed. Now, I want to jump over to Severodonetsk. I'm going to come back up here on the map. Of course, this is a battle that we talked about. I mean, forever. This would have been kind of like the Bakhmut story. And you move now into the Lugansk Oblast, but here in this area right here, Lysychansk, and you have Severodonetsk. And if you guys remember, and you've been with me from the beginning, we covered Severodonetsk for months and months with these battles here. Donetsk Oblast, Severodonetsk, this city right here. Between Severodonetsk and Lysychansk, you're talking a lot of people, over 100,000 people. Now, of course, swallowed up and completely occupied, but few people living there. I just want to show you, this picture came to me today, and I just want to show you what the Ukrainians call Ruski Mir. Translated means the Russian world. And this is the Russian world. In fact, I'll take this full screen for you so you can get a little better look. This is Severodonetsk. This is today, May the 12th, 2023. In the back, you see a destroyed 9-story apartment building, burnt, destroyed. But you see a new billboard there for today, and it says, the Dnyom Luganskoy Narodny Respubliki. It is the day of the Lugansk People's Republic region, the celebratory day here in Severodonetsk city, but the entire region celebrating Lugansk Day. Now, does this speak for itself? I'm just wondering. It's today, folks, 12th of May, right there, picture in front of you coming out of Severodonetsk with the billboard. We're celebrating the greatness. Sometimes we do not need words to describe. A picture is worth 1,000 words. When I translate it for you, 12th of May, the day of the Lugansk People's Republic, Severodonetsk. Yeah, just let that speak for itself. Now, today, once again, good news. This is the strongest, hardest, longest range strike that Ukraine has been able to pull off since the war began. This actually happened in the city of Lugansk. It was fired on and struck from Ukrainian positions back east. It was in that Kramatorsk, Slavyansk, Konstantinivka area is where the attack came from. It was not from 200, 300 kilometers away, but Ukraine hit. They hit a supply and repair for the Russian military there in Lugansk. in the city. This is actually a map. Of course, this is written in uh, Russian language and not Ukrainian. Yeah, this is written in Russian. It says Lugansk there in the middle, of course, Lugansk. I know it looks like a squiggly letter Y, door frame A, HCK, but that's actually Lugansk in Cyrillic. The strike was in the southeastern part of the city. No civilians were killed. Ukraine today confirming they hit it. They're happy. They're striking supply lines deep now into Lugansk. And today we also have confirmed 100% that the ADM 160 mild, basically like decoys were used, miniature air launched decoys. This is American technology. This is American products. It was either Northrop Grumman or Raytheon manufacturing these years and years ago, and they've modified. These are launched from airplanes. I had the launch platforms there that are currently used because people are reading a lot of news. They were reading that they can be launched from the F-16 and the B-52, of course, which are American planes. And many people are going, oh, the F-16s are there. No, the F-16s are not in Ukraine. These also can be launched from the Su-24, which of course is a Soviet airplane, and that is what Ukraine uses. And additionally, MiG-29s Ukraine uses, and Su-27s. So these are also, they have the ability to be used from both Russian and Ukrainian airplanes. These were used in the hit and attack on Lugansk. What do these do? These decoy the air defense. That's what they do. They draw the air defense. They're smart decoys. They can hover over targets. I've been reading on them all afternoon so that I was fairly accurate tonight in giving this, but 100% these were used. There was a picture that came out of Lugansk from Ukrainian sympathizers, and the Ukrainians sending back the pictures and saying, hey, this is what's on the ground here in Lugansk, right next or adjacent to the strike area. Of course, this actually is confirmed, this ADM 160. Now, how's Russia going to respond to that? Because that's pure American technology being used there for airstrikes. I don't think they're going to do anything more than they're already doing because we're ripping them with HIMARS as well. So once again, some technology here, and that's good news for Ukraine. So happy for that. Good news tonight. Now, I want to jump up to some other places. We're going to look at a few nations in the update tonight. Of course, we keep our eyes on Belarus. We know that Lukashenko was sick, and that some say he had a hand injury, and all these things that happened during the May 9th Victory Day celebration. He went back to Belarus. But here's what we can tell you. Belarus, over the last week, has been installing air raid warning sirens across the entire border of Belarus and Russia. I'm sorry, Belarus and Ukraine. You can see the black line there. That's actually the border between Belarus and Ukraine. The red line, the border between Belarus and Russia. Air raid warning sirens being installed along the entire border. Now, do I think that Ukraine's going to start ripping at Belarus? No, absolutely not. Why? Because as Zelenskyy said, even about the drone attack on the Kremlin, we need every piece of equipment we can have here to defend and liberate our homeland. We're not just going to be launching stuff for random targets to make a little splash on the news. So this absolutely needs to be done for Belarus, because if they make a wrong step, they will get whacked, but they will not. Russia, of course, is using their territory. Belarus, basically a proxy nation for Russia. Lukashenko, whatever. They can say what they want, but it's happening. The original attacks came through Belarus. We know all of this. So Belarus doing that. But in addition, Belarus also moving T-72 tanks all along the border lines. Now, why? Is that an invasion coming? Absolutely not. Is that a just in case? No, Ukraine's not going that way. But what is it? It's a distraction. So as we're coming into this offensive that is not officially cranked up, but for sure Ukraine is making movements, I remind you, they can say what they want to. And Zelenskyy himself today said, we've not begun our counteroffensive. We're not ready yet. And we're also teaching our people to stop posting information about our military activity on social media. So we're not fully engaged in a counteroffensive directly from Zelenskyy. It's coming. It's already happened. There's going to be no magic pill, no magic date. It's happening. With that said, anything Belarus can do to bring any type of distraction, hold some soldiers up at the border, because there are soldiers all along the northern border here, Ukrainian soldiers positioned along that entire black line there on the north, above Zhytomyr, above in the Volyn region, above Chernigiv, above Chernobyl, above Sumy. They're all there. So if they're held there because there are tanks on the border, Russia's moving, Russia's landing airplanes up at the airfields in Gostomel, Iran's coming and they're looking at making drones in the Gostomel radio factory. Oh, they're installing air raid warning sirens. It just keeps some attention there that will, Russia hopes, deter and slow down that counteroffensive that's coming. So that's what's happening there in Belarus we have to pay attention to. Another nation tonight on Friday night, May the 12th, we have to pay attention to is Turkey. We know what Turkey has done through this war. We've watched them. They are a part of NATO. They've been on the fence. They've done some positive. They've done some negative. They are a member of NATO, of course. We know pretty much where Erdogan stands. Well, Turkey's in political elections right now, and they do it differently there in Turkey. They have multiple layer votes. The next vote is on the 14th of May, and then there's another vote on the 28th of May, and then they get to the final process of being or having the presidential election. I don't understand all that. I do not know Turkish politics, but I do know that's what is unfolding. And as of right now, there is a front runner who's beating Erdogan. His name is Kılıçdaroğlu, 49.3%. Erdogan, 43.7%. Why is that important on the update tonight for Ukraine? It's because it directly affects Ukraine. What if this new guy is elected? Where exactly is he going to stand? In fact, we have those same issues going on in our country, whether it be with our current sitting president, Joseph Biden, or those who want to take his place in 2024, Donald Trump, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Ronald DeSantis, and the list goes on. Where will these new guys actually stand? That's the question coming down from Turkey. If there's a presidential change, Ukraine is going, okay, how's that actually going to affect us? So keep your eyes on it. Maybe you didn't even know this, but it's happening. Election time in Turkey will affect Ukraine. Another nation that will affect Ukraine, I believe in this 100%. This is actually an update from the IDF. This was a few hours ago, and now they've come out with another one. IDF update regarding Gaza. Their mission is called Shield and Arrow. As you know, right now, rockets are raining down on Israel. Israel is responding massively. They don't play around, folks. Massive response. Now the number is not 860. The number is 1,100 rockets have been fired from Gaza toward Israel, of which 160 rockets did not even leave Gaza. They landed back on their own area. 260 Iron Dome interceptions, 91% success rate, and their mission to protect Israeli civilians against Islamic Jihad. You say, well, what's that got to do with Ukraine? Are you kidding? Iran's right in the middle of that. Iran's in the middle of Israel. Iran's in the middle of Ukraine. Iran's in the middle of it all, even geographically. They're right in the middle of all this mess. They're in the middle with Turkey. They're in the middle with Syria. This is all connected. When we have nations, for example, go into war even heavier, then what does that mean? What does that mean for Israel? Aid that comes to them from the United States. Now, will that affect Ukraine? I don't know the answers to this, but I can tell you, the entire region is a boiling pot. Now, last couple of things I want to update you on tonight. We looked at Turkey. We looked at Israel, Iran, and now we're going to end up with the United States, much like we did on Wednesday. I promise you tonight, no rant. I'm just going to state the facts. Donald Trump interviewed on CNN at the town hall. Of course, everybody has heard about that, and I'm not here to talk about American politics. I went off on Robert F. Kennedy Jr. because he made a personal attack against the American people, and he needed to be called out. I just wish 50 million people had seen it. And you can help with that by sharing, liking, commenting, and doing all of that stuff. It really works. Post it on your own social media. Trump on Russia's war in Ukraine, quote, "If I'm president, I will have that war settled in one day, 24 hours. First of all, I'm going to call you on that. No, you will not. Baloney. Here's some of his quotes. And why am I giving these? Because President Zelenskyy has responded. He did not respond in a direct quote, but he's a smart guy. He is a communicator. He is a motivator, and he knows how to do it. He's gotten some good advice. A couple of the quotes here, and Ukraine's not happy, folks. They're not happy in the least. If I win the presidential election, I will stop the war in Ukraine in 24 hours. No, you won't. Quote 2, I don't think about victory and defeat at all. Okay. Third quote, now is not the time to call Putin a war criminal. I'm not even going there. I know, probably lots of you in here support President Trump, and you have the right to do that. Personally, myself speaking, I think America needs an entire new leadership. It's my personal opinion. I think we need complete new leadership across the board. I would personally like to just fire them all and let's put in some new breaths of fresh air and try to get our country stabilized and going in the right direction. But these are the quotes. Well, President Zelenskyy being interviewed made some statements. You can read between the lines, but you do not have to. Quote, he said, November 2024, we need to win the war before November 2024. And the guy asked him why. Because there's a high probability of a presidential change in the United States, and it may not look so good for us. We need to win the war before November 2024. Why did he say that? Because of these statements right here. Secondly, he said, no person will force us to give up our land. Why did he say that? Because of this right here. Because it's Mr. Trump's plan. We know it. He's already talked about it. He talked about in the past, well, we'll give up a little bit of land, we'll appease Putin, we'll calm everything down, we'll stop the war, people will stop dying, and we'll go on about our business. Because they don't think about Ukraine as this sovereign nation. People don't. They really don't. And it's unfortunate. So Zelenskyy replies, no person will force us to give up our land. Thirdly, he said, we have no date on our counteroffensive yet. We're doing some things. Yes, we took back 17.3 kilometers of Bakhmut area. Yes, we're striking at further distances now. Yes, we're working behind the lines. Yes, they're in chaos on that side, but do not believe they're out of stuff. He said, quote, the invaders' supplies are vast. They can keep going and keep going. Fourthly, he said, we did not strike the Kremlin. Russia struck the Kremlin. So today, President Zelenskyy giving some updates, directly speaking, replying to things that was stated in the United States over the last few days, and also bringing clarity to who struck the Kremlin. So folks, that's where we're at. Overall today, it's a good news day from Ukraine. Yes, Kherson getting hit. Today, just a little while ago, Slavyansk was hit. We've got loss of life there. But today, Ukraine made some good moves in this war. Bakhmut area, Lugansk region. Additionally, more military equipment coming in. Abrams are going to be coming by the fall. That's the dates on that. 14 MiG-29s are coming in from Poland right now. Other things are happening. Challenger tanks are there. The new long-range air missile systems coming in from Great Britain. Good news. This new equipment being used that we confirmed in the strike on Lugansk. So that's why the title of the program, the update tonight, Good News Day from Ukraine. Thank you for being here, everybody. That's where we're at tonight on May the 12th, 2023. 2023. So be blessed, and we'll see you in a few days. We'll see you on Patreon every day, and unless something crazy happens, like it did on Tuesday on Victory Day, we'll come in here and we'll give the update. Zhenia's still healing and doing well. Thank you for all your kindness and goodness. You're much appreciated. Be blessed. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you on Monday, if not before.